Hey, welcome back to the channel. So on this episode, we're going to talk about electricity and also a little bit of wall insulation for both the walls and the ceiling. I wanted to take you through the outside of the trailer and show you all of the lights and outlets that I installed. I have both 12 volt and 110 throughout this trailer. It runs all my 12 volt side of the house for puck lighting, and also the 110 side runs power outlets, the air conditioning, microwave, a refrigerator, and so forth. Also, I'll take you both through the outside and the inside, and you can see exactly what I did. And like I said, on the back side of this video, there's a short run installing the insulation on the trailer. It's just a foam insulation that I picked up from Home Depot. It'll be 1 inch in the walls and 1.5 inches in the ceiling. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you on the next one. Okay, so just starting on the outside, I just wanted to kind of go through a few things. 12 volt lighting. This is just a porch light. And again, 12 volt lighting. These are floodlights that we use when we're working on an aircraft. I can have the awning deployed with the aircraft just underneath the awning, and it gives me flood lighting to work on it. I've also got the car stereo inside that runs off 12 volt. I have outdoor speakers for the trailer so we can listen to some music when we're working on the aircraft. I've also wired in 3 outlets for 110 power. These are guarded from weather. These are extremely helpful when we're using stuff like a spark plug cleaner that uses 110 volt. Over here, this is where a TV would hang. This is for when I'm working on an aircraft and I don't want to keep going back and forth inside the aircraft or the trailer for my manuals. I can have my manuals projected from my computer screen to this TV, and I can simply use the mouse to scroll through the book and understand what's going on with the aircraft through the manual. So that's been very helpful as well. It just hangs on here. It's got a 110 port right here, and then right here is the HDMI and a Cat 5 cable for the TV hookup should I need those particular ports. Again, here's another outlet right here. We use this one quite a bit, and everything is protected and guarded from the elements as well, just like you would have on a regular house. This up here was my first attempt at the Starlink. I used to put the Starlink on a pole. It would plug in right here, and then also attach up top, and I'd hoist it about 30 feet in the air, and I would put the dish up top, and my thoughts was to get it over the top of any hangers to get coverage, but it turns out it didn't actually need that. So what I wound up doing was I actually mounted the Starlink dish to the top of the trailer, and it's just between the 2 back solar panels that you can just see the side of the solar panels up here. There's 4 solar panels up top to feed power back into the power barn, and my dish is right between the back 2. So it's been great. It used to take me about 20 minutes to get this all set up. Now I can just pull up, turn a switch on, and I'm on Wi-Fi. In the back of the trailer, I've got more floodlights. If I'm in the back working, or if I need to back up, it's been very helpful. I've also got a camera on 12 volt, and again, those floodlights too are on 12 volts as well. I haven't got the backup camera installed just yet. It's there, I just haven't hooked it up to any truck or anything. On this side, I've got more shop lighting or flood lighting, very helpful. And then right here, this is my shore power 110 port. I did purchase this off the internet, so even though it may look a little weird, I thought it did, but that's what they gave me, so that's what I've run. I'll just get a zoom up on it. It's basically a washer and dryer type plug. I plugged it in. I bought the existing cord in that goes to it, and I wired up to a shore power cord that I'll show you in a minute. This is only a 110 trailer, and I do not have a transfer switch. There's only one way power comes in. So I'm either plugged into a generator through a 110 port, or I'm plugged into a wall socket. There's no way any other power can come into the trailer. It either is one or the other. So something to think about when you're building these. And then up here, this right here is a vent for the bathroom. Those are basically, I believe they're almost a computer fan, but boy, they work. And then on the front of the trailer, this is what keeps us nice and cool during the summer out here in Phoenix. This is a mini split. It is 110, and it is a soft start mini split. This thing, I'll pull it down to as low as it can go, and on a 100-degree day, I can almost hang meat inside the trailer. It'll stay at a consistent 60 degrees inside the trailer while it's just baking on the outside. What helps me keep that trailer cool is I did put insulation in the ceiling, and I also painted the ceiling with a very thick coat of heat-resistant paint. It's like a rubbery type paint. All right, that covers the outside of the trailer. So I'll take you inside and I'll show you everything else in there. All right, that was the outside of the trailer. Now I want to take you through the interior of the trailer, and I can show you all of the outlets, puck lighting, shop lighting, and appliances that I plugged into the trailer for everyday use on the job. So as I walk through the front door, you immediately come into the Vino section of the trailer, and up front here, I just put a small kitchenette. So I've got a small microwave, I've got a sink, and a coffee maker. I've also got outlets to plug into for any kind of charging. I've also got underneath the sink here, I've got a hot water tank, and this is also where I keep the fresh water as well. Behind me, right here, this is a small refrigerator. This thing works great in summertime. As long as the winter, I can keep my lunch in here and it keeps cold. It actually freezes enough that I can keep Otter Pops in here in the heart of the summer so we can keep cool. I've got a little puck light underneath here, ran off of a switch. I also have that plugged into the water pump right here. I kind of did that for a purpose. If I leave the water pump on and I'm incidentally using that light, I'll know that the water pump was left on and I can shut everything off. I'll get to this section here in a minute. This right here is the bathroom. And again, I've got puck lighting on the ceiling. I've also got a vent fan. And I also plumbed in a 110 outlet for the bathroom as well. Very handy. So moving through the trailer, this right here is where all of my switches are for inside and outside of the trailer. These two particular I use all the time. These are my shop lights. And you can see up top here, these are shop lights that I use for working on the bench. They're on two separate circuits, so I can turn one set off if I need to. I've also got regular puck lighting in the ceiling. This is just 2-inch lighting. And I'll tell you, all the lighting in the trailer is 12 volt and it is LED. When I designed the trailer, I was designing it kind of like the Apollo 13, if you will. So I'm trying to keep as many amps or as low of the amps as I possibly can, and to not draw power, because the purpose of this trailer is to keep me on site and working for an 8 to 12 hour day, and I don't want something drawing a bunch of voltage or amps during the day to pull my batteries down. So I'm trying to keep those on as long as possible. All right, so also in the back of the trailer here, this is my main desk where I sit and work. I've got puck lighting just above it, and I did put this on a switch where it could lower the voltage, and that's a dimmer switch and whatnot. It sounded really cool at the time, but to be honest, I don't really ever use it like that. So it's either on or off fully. I've also got 110 outlets on the walls here for any kind of computers I need to plug in or anything like that. And then in the back here, this is a 20-gallon air compressor. It's a soft start and it is quiet. That is run off of 110 as well. And I've also got a charging station back here in the back that I use to charge any kind of drill batteries with or anything I need for that. Back over here, you can see this is a 12-volt car radio. I had my brother design and build a box so that I could put the radio in it. Above it, this is the Starlink router. It does get hot, that I found out, so I actually plugged in a fan that comes on when I turn it on the switch, that cools the router off. And I did convert this from 110 to 12 volt. That way my inverter does not have to run while I'm on the router. So that's very helpful. Also in the back here, you might see, this was my first idea for running the Starlink. I have I had a flagpole, which I still have sitting here, and I would put the router or the dish on the flagpole, hoist it up, and plug it in externally through that jack on the outside, and it would carry on the inside. But I figured out that I really didn't need to do that, so that's when I hard mounted the dish on the roof, and I brought everything internal through the roof jacks. And so now I don't have to deal with any flagpoles or anything like that. That was probably 20 minutes of setup every time I go and try to set up Wi-Fi. And again, I got power outlets here that I can use for work. And then also the mini split up front. This is a 110 unit. This is a Della unit. I just chose Della because it was a good price and I bought it off the internet. Most of the stuff I bought here was bought or purchased off Amazon. I'd say probably 90% of this trailer I purchased on Amazon. I would research and find and order on Amazon. So this is 110. I've got a printer that I use to make logbook entries and other things, pull up ADs and service bulletins, and if I want to print them off, I can use my printer. And again, this is off of a 110. And then if you look right over here, this is sort of the power center or part of the power barn. This is the Servo GX, and what it does is allows me to look at all my systems as they're on, and I can see where power is being pushed to or brought from. It shows me the solar. Right now I'm underneath an awning, so I'm not going to get any solar today. But it'll show me if I'm inverting, if I'm doing bulk charge, if I'm in absorption, or if I'm in float. Very important for when I'm out on the job and I want to plug in and charge my batteries, which I do often. I will plug into the hangers or shade ports or whatnot, and it will charge my batteries. While I'm charging my batteries, it's in what they call bulk mode. And I have the amperage set up pretty high, so it charges at a very high amperage. But when I'm in that mode, I will not turn any of the air conditioning on, and I'll try to use very little of the 110 side until those batteries go into what they call absorption. Once they go into absorption, that means the batteries have topped, or they're close to topping, and the amperages have dropped quite a bit. And then once it goes into what they call float mode, it's just a pass-through, and I'm basically nothing more than an extension cord off of what I'm plugged into, and the grid doesn't care. So it's been very helpful, and it's also Wi-Fi. I can hook it up to my phone, and I can actually check on the trailer as I'm out and about working around the aircraft and whatnot. All right, so what runs this whole thing? I've got everything run through what I call the power barn. The power barn is where I keep all my batteries. This is where the inverter's at. This is where the 110 30 amp breakout box is, and all that. So we'll get into that. Also, real quick, this little guy right here, this is a light for the power box. This is a fan that I installed for cooling for the power box. And this one I really do like. This is what I wired in for the Wi-Fi. So when I have my 12 volt side of the house turned on, I don't have to have my router or the Wi-Fi turned on. That's on a completely separate system. And when I need router or Wi-Fi, I can click this little switch right here. And I've got it wired into that fan as well. I can turn that fan off at the fan or on a higher or lower speed. But what that does is allows me to separate the Wi-Fi from the rest of the system, and I don't have to have the Wi-Fi on cooking while I'm just doing whatever I need to in the trailer, and I don't particularly need Wi-Fi that day. So if you're going to do these, I would highly recommend putting your Starlink router and its system onto the 12-volt side of the house, and also stick it on a separate system so that you can turn it on and off as you need to. Because if you don't, that router up top gets pretty warm just sitting there. It's not simply because it's installed in that box. I did put vents up there. Before I even put it in the box, it would just sit out on the counter and it still got hot. The power source for it is up behind the trim works here. This is the other thing I was going to talk about. All of the wire harness for the trailer runs from my power barn, okay, up a flue on the inside of it and distributes throughout the trailer behind these trim boxes. There is a set of wiring that has to go to this side, and it's run across the ceiling over to that side. All of the wire harness for the trailer, as it comes up out of the walls, everything comes up from the sockets or from, say, the radio. Everything goes up, and it's in a channel right here. Really, all I did was screw in a 2x2 first strip along the top side of the wood, and then I screwed these to it, and what that does is it creates a channel for those wire harnesses to run in. So if you ever need to do any work on the trailer electrically, you can get to all those channels or all those wires. There's conduit boxes behind here as well for the 110, and then all my 12 volt is running through there as well. It works out very well. I have had to get in here a few times when I was redoing some things and trying to make things a little better, and it works great because you can just pull it off and get to all of your wires. My line sets for the mini split also run through this section of the trailer as well, and I will do a mini split portion of the videos when I get to that, but the line sets come out here, up, and then over, and then they run over the top of this counter and then down and back out to the head unit on the outside. All right, so that's basically everything on the inside as far as our lighting and our strop lighting and accessories. Now what I'll do is I'll get into the power barn and show you everything inside there. Alright, so we're going to go through everything I've put into the power barn. I'll try to put this on a tripod so it's easier to see. That should help. Alright, so this is my power barn setup, and I'm sure everybody's done theirs differently. This is what I found works for me. To start off with, I've got 6 12 volt 100 amp Battle-Born lithium-ion batteries. So that gives me 12 volts, 600 amps. That'll push through a Lynx distributor from Victron. This is the cheaper version. It doesn't have the computer or electronic components in it like the other one, like some of the better ones do. It's literally, that's all it is a distributor. So I've got all my wiring from my batteries going into my Lynx distributor, and then that pushes into the Victron 3000 watt multi-plus inverter. Up top, that is the smart solar charger controller. This pulls my solar down into this solar box. It's a 150/45, and then from there it pushes in to the batteries. And then the little box off to the right over here that's blinking, this is for the Servo GX, and that runs the little faceplate there that I just showed a second ago. And then here is the 110 side. This is a 30 amp breakout box that I got from, I don't remember exactly if I bought this at Home Depot or if I bought it offline. Either one carry it though. And I just used regular breakers. I figured out the loads that I needed, and I split the loads left and right. Each side of the trailer is on a 20 amp circuit, left and right. The hot water has its own breaker, and the air conditioning unit has its very own breaker on a separate dedicated circuit. So I can actually shut those off, or if they have a problem, they may trip the fuse and isolate themselves from the system. In the back, this is the 12 volt side of the house for a fuse breaker. All these are breakers like you'd have in a car. They're the blow breakers, and at time to time I may blow one and I will have to change it. The red light that you see, there's power coming into that. That's for the rear camera that I have yet to hook up, and so there's power waiting there, but it's not going anywhere. So if I was to plug a fuse into it, the red light would go out. I did try to keep all of my 110 side isolated from the 12 volt side, and I ran it like you might see in a house. I did do the conduit. I did the thick underground conduit. It just worked a little bit better in my situation. And then on each side, I've also got, I can turn off, this is the 110 side. I can isolate that, completely turn that off from the trailer. This is my solar. I can turn this off, and I've got another similar switch just on the outside over here. You can see the wires running to it for the 12 volt side. I do not travel with my trailer on. I don't need the refrigerator on or anything running when I'm driving. And frankly, it kind of makes me a little nervous if you're driving and all those wires are chafing around. I've done a lot of work to try to make sure that there is no chafing, but you never know. So when I travel or when I park the trailer at night, I turn all my powers off. So the trailer has no power and everything is just isolated to right here. There's nothing out in the walls that has power on it. One thing that's very important is when I ran the wires, initially I did not have this, and when I ran all my wires, the way I ran it, only one battery was really getting charged, but the rest, it was a trickle down, so it wasn't really working that great. So what I did, I removed all that, I put in the links distributor, and then all of my wires are exactly the same length on both the negative side and the positive side, and they run into the links distributor. What that does when I'm charging is that it evenly distributes the power to all of my batteries. The only place that I've had an issue is, and I think it's because I have my amperage turned up really high when I charge batteries, is right here. This little guy gets a little bit warm, so I installed a fan and it took care of the problem. I can charge all day long and it blows that heat away, no problem. So this is what I call my power barn. Also on the back side, the shore power runs from the multiplus and out. And I'll show you that cord that I made here in a second. But so far so good. I've had a lot of good luck with this. I do check it quite often to see if I've got any kind of thermal issues. Then there isn't. I've never had a battery that got warm at all or anything like that. It's been very helpful, and it runs everything I have in this trailer. I can be off grid for between 8 to maybe 12 hours, depending on if I'm just on 12 volt side, I can probably go for a couple of days or more. If I'm using the air conditioning and the AC side a lot, it'll draw it down, and I might be looking at about a 12-hour day. And this is the door that I created for the power barn. When I built this, I thought maybe it was going to be a swinging door, but it didn't really turn out that way. It was better to have one piece. So I just simply took and modified a regular door hinge like this, and I made it so that all it does is slip in to the holes, just like that. And there's my door. I've got a nice big vent on it for any air to go in. When the light's off, you really don't see anything inside back here. And I can also check on it real quick without having to take this off. I can look in here if I needed to for any kind of heat or anything that I think might be going on. I can check on it really quick. So if you do some sort of power barn, I would definitely highly recommend putting a light in there, just to have the accessibility to see things. Don't bury electricity and then close the door on it and hope it's going to be okay. This is something you should keep an eye because you can do the best work, but if you leave one thing undone or something chafes or whatever, you have a real good chance to burn your whole trailer down. And lithium batteries, they can't get put out. They will burn everything down. So keep an eye on things. Put a light in there. Be vigilant with your electricity. Okay, so that was an overview of the finished product of the electrical side of my trailer. In the video ahead, you'll see how I was able to run the power through the walls, how I had to cut wire channels, and how I kept everything separated between systems. Everything that I did in the trailer had to be thought out well in advance before I ever put any receptacle or wire into the walls. I hope you enjoy the build so far. I've learned a lot through the process, and I still have more to go. Okay, so here's that cord. So this is my shore power cord. On one end, you'll see it's a regular 110 outlet. I did wire on a different end, simply because my other one, I think, broke or something. You can get these at Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever. The other end, this is what fits my shore power outlet. This is the outlet that I ordered off Amazon. When it showed up, I took that down to the hardware store and I matched it up with whatever fit, and this is what fit. These are basically washer and dryer outlets made for a 220. However, my whole trailer is run off of 110. There is no 220 coming into the trailer, and again, like I said earlier, I do not run a transfer switch. So this plugs into the side of the trailer, and then I can plug this into either a power post running 110 or a generator running 110. It's either one or the other. I do not have the ability to run both the grid off of a post or a generator at the same time. So it's either one or the other. And I knew that going in, and I actually also have the trailer placarded as such that it's placarded with a 110. The cord itself, this is 10 gauge cord. I just happen to have two of these 10 gauge by 50 foot cords. I used to use these for my Miller-Matic welder when I was trying to weld up stalls away from the house. So I have to plug in about 100 feet and I could run my Miller-Matic welder. Most of the research I did showed me that the cords that most people used for a shore power type cord that you can purchase from the hardware store were of the 10 gauge cord. So I already had it, so I didn't want to buy another cord. What I did was I made this into a 30-foot cord. I was worried about having too long of a run, that I would lose amperage. However, a lot of times I won't be able to reach a power source even with 30 feet. So I'll wind up having to plug in a regular drop cord to my power source and run the power to the trailer. It's not ideal. The cord will get hot if the batteries are charging. The little cord will get hot. However, once the Victron Multiplus goes into absorption mode and float mode, the cord runs regularly. It does not overheat. Everything cools down and everything's fine. And I haven't had a problem actually at all with any of that. It would be nice if I could run this type cord all the way to the power box, and I may wind up creating another cord that's longer. The problem is they get really heavy. 10 gauge copper wire is extremely heavy when it's when you got 50 feet of it. This is only I think I cut 30 feet, and it's manageable. I can carry this in the back of my truck, and I can grab it and unroll it as I need, and it works for me. If you're going to do another application and you don't want to run a separate cord to plug into this, then by all means get a longer cord or get two of these. I do have another one of these cords that I could use, but like I said, it is very heavy and I generally only use it at the house. Okay, so today I got all the wiring put into the walls, and I can start putting the wood paneling back in, and then from there I can start putting all the cabinets in, and then finishes and the ceiling and everything. But I did want to today go through and just take a tour of the inside of all of the wiring that I did and kind of show what I did. So we'll do that right now. Okay, so I've noticed a lot of these trailers, they were building out the walls even further with first strips, and so then you would have like 1.5 inches or 2 inches of insulation in the walls, which makes it great for wiring because it makes the conduit boxes even thicker. But I chose not to do that. Instead, I'm trying to save weight because I know this is going to be a shop trailer, and so I didn't want to put a bunch of weight in the walls just trying to insulate it, knowing that I'm not going to be living in this thing. I just need it to be comfortable for the 8 to 12 hours that I might be somewhere working on an aircraft, that the air conditioning will be on, and keep it cool for me. So I wasn't too worried about having the walls super thick. So I did opt to go with the original crappy boards that came with the trailer, but I modified them to match what I need inside the wall. So let's go through it real quick. On the walls, this is 1-inch insulation, foam insulation. I bought it at Home Depot. It's like an R3 thickness value. And then the walls get screwed on like they do originally to the upright steel posts. So in order to have any kind of wiring or anything like that in the trailer, instead of having the conduit box out, sticking out of the wall, which I didn't want, I wanted them flush with the wall like a regular house with a wall plate. What I've had to do is go through and, like right here, you can see this is the shallowest steel box that I could find. Just kind of zoom in on it. So these are, I believe, 1.75 inches deep. And then the reason they're sticking out from the wall is because the wood that's going to come in and screw on to the uprights here are going to fill that gap, and then I'll have paneling go on top of that, so it'll be a flush plate when I'm all completely done. What I've had to do too is I've had to carve these wire galleys out of the foam so that my wiring had somewhere to go. And you can see it kind of looked like an ant farm as I was carving everything. So there's the 110 side right here, and then I've got other areas, like this is the speaker wire, and then a Cat 5 cable that I needed run. And then there's also the original trailer wiring, you can see right here, that was supplied with the trailer for the lights on the trailer. So I had to figure out a way to incorporate those so that they would be flush into the wall, and everything's with the premise of that when I put the wood paneling back on, I will have no wires will be smashed. They all have their own little galley that they live in, and they won't get smashed by the wood on the wall. So some of these areas too, like right here, you might notice that there's a big old square cutout right here as well. This is where a speaker is going to go on the outside of the trailer. Normally what I've seen, just a lot of cheap trailers, if they have a speaker or something screwed on the outside of the trailer, they only screw it to this thin metal. So you can see right here, that's very thin gauge steel. And what holds your speaker on is whatever it can grab on this little tiny hole on 4 places. So I didn't like that. So what I've done is on the back side of the paneling, and I'll show you in a minute, I've actually made a wood block that's a solid wood block that goes right here in this cavity. And there's a place for the wire to come out. What that does is when the wall's in, from the outside, it gives me something to screw those 4 screws in for that speaker. So that speaker will be nice and snug fit and tight to that to the wall on the outside, and I won't have to worry about it only holding on to that little tiny thin piece of metal. So, and what that looks like, I have the panel. This panel I've got right here. This is where the AC mini split box, the inside ductless unit goes right here. So that's why there's a drain. This is the drain tube for it. And again, I had to carve a galley out of the foam to come down, and it'll pop out through the refrigerator box, which is right here, so I'll never see that. But it'll be completely concealed into the foam. Right here, this is a panel. This is where all the switches for the interior 12-volt lighting system is. There's going to be two four switch breakers right here for the lights. So this is what it looks like on the back. So if you were to, just like right here, if you were to look at the piece of wood that goes right here, which incidentally is this one, this is what you would see. So right here, you can see this big old piece of block right here. And I put it exactly where I needed it on the wood. And then it's been glued on, and then I've also nailed it on with a finished nailer. They're 1.25" nailer screws, so little thin screws, or not screws, nails, thin nails. So every time there's something that has to screw in from the outside, or in this case also from the inside, because this is also a part of the block that's going to hold the mount for the AC unit, ductless unit, I wanted it to screw into something solid, so that's why I put these blocks in. And same thing, this is the light for the porch light. And this right here, what these little guys are right here is for the wiring. So when the light's coming in from the outside, right, it needs somewhere for the wiring to come into. So the wiring's going to go into here. Imagine this is on the outside, and the light's coming in here. The wiring's going to come through here, and then I can just, it runs up and grabs into the wire harness, which I've already got pre-wired in here right now. So same thing with here. Every time I put one of these blocks in, I created a wire channel for that wiring. So that's how I solved a lot of the problem with my walls. And I just ran the wiring. What this is going to do right here on the top. So the wall is going to come up, and then about right here, there's going to be kind of a step out, if you will. Then it'll come off the wood, and then it's going to go up to the ceiling. And what that's going to do is create a channel for all this wire harness to live in. And the reason I like that, and that channel will be able to be unscrewed and come off. So if I ever have to fix any wiring or add wiring, I'm not tearing down walls or drilling holes. All of my wiring has been run across the top, just like this, and it'll be inside of a channel that I can easily get to if I have to rewire something. This is the only place that will be a little bit of a pain, but this has to come across the inside of the roof, so there'll be a ceiling on inside these panels right here. There's going to be a ceiling that I'm going to attach, right? And so I'll have this little space right here for the wiring to run through, and that's where these harnesses are going to live. It's something like that. But I made it so that I could actually add to or take away or repair as I needed with these panels. And it's wired up like a traditional house per se. It's daisy chained. You can literally see, this would be the end run daisy chained. And then because these are so thin, it makes it really hard to run a lot of wiring in these little boxes. It was a real bear. I had to learn how to do it, but I was able to get the wires just as I needed in these little boxes so they're not touching anything. And then they go back to a conduit box. And right here, I am able to power in and wire, like the main power coming in, and then this is all the feed going to the back, and then this is the feed going off to the front of the trailer. I'm able to use the conduit box, and I've got one over there, and I've got one here, and another one right here. And what that does is it kind of spreads all the wires out. I've got what I need per box. I'm not over on any code or anything. I think the most I've got is 5 wires per box, which is what I'm allowed. I'm allowed up to 6 per conduit box. So that is how I'm running the wiring. And like I said, this right here, I've actually got right here where I'm standing will be the power barn, I call it. I built a cabinet with the power barn. In the bottom of that power barn, all the batteries, the Victron, and all the power. And there's a flue that all of this harness and these harnesses are going to run down through and catch into the breaker panel and the 6 lithium-ion batteries that I bought to run the battery when I'm not plugged in. So that's just kind of a quick overview of what it looks like. I'll just do a little walk around and kind of see what everything looks like. Real quick too, this right here is kind of busy. I'm going to be putting Starlink on the trailer. So Starlink's going to have a router and all this kind of stuff, but I have an outside plug for the Starlink antenna. I'm going to build I have a pole that it's going to go on and be up 30 feet. That'll plug in externally to a Cat 5 jack, and then that'll roll into here, and then this side plugs into the router, and then this little guy right here will go off to, I forget where that one goes. That goes to the TV. In case I didn't want to do Wi-Fi or couldn't do Wi-Fi for the TV, I've got the ability to do a straight Cat 5 cable to the TV, so there's a sure connection there. So that's what this little busy area right here is for. This right here, I've actually got, there's going to be a stereo for those speakers I was just talking about, like a car stereo kind of thing. And so that, I have a box that we built right here, and I needed a place, these are all the wires and everything that's going to power that stereo, along with all the speaker wires and the antenna, which I incidentally broke the end of the antenna off, so I get to rewire that here shortly, unfortunately. But all this is for where the stereo is going to live, right here in a little stereo box. By the way, these are this square box and part of this square box, and then these boxes here, I got one here and back here. These are all lights. They're all floodlights that I have wired into the trailer, and I'll be able to access or turn those on and off through these switches right here. So there's a lot of thinking and preparation before I could go back up with all the walls. Hopefully I got everything the way that I needed, and I didn't forget anything, but I feel like if I did, I should be able to remedy it pretty quickly. But yeah, let's just take a quick tour real quick. Just going around. This is going to be the kitchen area right here. There's going to be a microwave. That's why there's a weird plug right here. And there's a sink in this area, and then the holding tank for the water down below. This little area right here is a bathroom. So that'll be the shower. That's the pan for the shower. You got a little sink right here, and then this is the toilet base right here. I haven't cut the 2x4 yet, because I don't know exactly where my door is going to land. Until I do, until I get that framed in, that'll be the last thing to cut out is the space here. But that's the bathroom. Some of these wires I need I need the length, so I just kind of got them rolled up. Romex is really heavy, and it doesn't hold real well on tape. And I didn't want to put a lot of strain on my temporary harness holders right here, so I just kind of have it hooked into a hole where a vent is going to be. And it's just kind of hanging out until I can get it put into use like I need. This right here, actually, this is for the solar. This is where the solar wires are going to come in. This is one of those solar caps that has the little environmental solar cap, so the wires will come through that. It'll be all environmental and nothing will leak. Those will drop down and again come across and then shoot right into that channel and go down into the power barn. So there's those. Down there, that's going to be the shore power. And then also I have this idea that whatever I have on my computer screen here on my desk, there's going to be a computer. I'm going to want that possibly being projected onto a TV. So like my manuals or something like that will come from the computer screen over via HDMI. And this will plug into here, right here. There's a plug right here. that I have wired in, that the TV will plug into on the outside, and this is permanently plugged into on the inside. So if I want to watch TV off the computer screen or something like that, or see what's on the computer screen through the TV, I can all the commands or all the signals ran through that HDMI. And this right here is actually this is a place where I've got this is where the TV mount is put. So there's a big piece of wood just like that right there, right here, and then these are going to be lag bolts that come in and attach the TV. And by the way, everything that has if I had to put a screw, like a big bolt through the wall, I didn't want it just to go into that thin wood, so I put receptacles on the back side of all of these. And what that looks like, let's see if I have a picture. Oh, I don't think this one has any. No, it doesn't. But what I do have is through this wood, if I needed something plugged in, I would have drilled a hole through it, put a receptacle on the back side, and then filled that up right here with a, this will hold the receptacle in forever, so that when you're pushing a bolt in, it doesn't pop the receptacle out and stuff it down into the wall. So that they're in there. They're already pulled tight into the wood, but what that does is it's called a keeper. I made them out of thin wood. I glued them on, and then I attached them also with my nailer. And what that'll do is keep that little insert stuck in the wood exactly where I want it all the time. You can push on it and bump on it all you want, but it won't come out of its location and pop out through the wall. So that was very important to me because I don't ever want to take all these panels off again. So that's where we're at. Oh, and real quick, the walls are 1 inch. The ceiling is 1.5 inch foam. So I got a really good deal on that. And then these little fur strips are what the cedar tongue and groove ceiling is going to attach to when she's all done. And then these little guys right here, these are lights. These are the cabin lights. These are going to be desk lights. And again, these are all the desk lights are run off their own switching right here. And then the cabin lights are going to be run off over here. So that's it for now. Hopefully I can get all these panelings back in. We're in our summer right now, and we're going to start getting monsoons, we hope. And so I need to get the paneling put back in since I have it all stacked outside right now. It can't get wet. So I'm hoping today I can get these panels back in mostly.